The order of operations, or PEMDAS, order of operations mean things like adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. But when you see a math problem like 8 plus parentheses 7 times 41 plus 4 close parentheses, what do you do first? Well, years ago, people agreed to follow a set order of operations. And the letters PEMDAS, or some people read it as PEMDAS, tell us the order. It means parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, and subtract. But let's break this down. The first letter in PEMDAS is the P. So we do things that are in the parentheses, P for parentheses, first. For example, if I had the problem 7 times parentheses 6 plus 2 close the parentheses, and I just simply worked it from left to right. Let's see what would happen. Well, first I would have 7 times 6, and that would give me 42. And then 42 plus 2 would give me 44. Okay? But now, let's do what's in the parentheses first. In this case, I see 6 plus 2, which is 8. And then I have 7 times 8, which is 56. And this is my correct answer. So you can see that if we just worked it from left to right, we would not get the right answer. So work parentheses first. The next letter in my order of operations is the E. And in this case it says perform any exponents, E for exponents, next. For example, let's just work from left to right and say that I had 4 times 3 squared. Well, if I work this from left to right, I would have 4 times 3, which is 12. And then if I squared the 12, I would get, which would in essence be 12 times 12, I would get 144. All right, but let's say we did my exponents first. Well, if I did that, I would have 3 squared. And 3 times 3 is 9. And then 4 times 9 is 36. And in this case, if I did my exponents first, then this one would be the correct answer. And that's very different from 144. So I have to make sure that I'm following this order of operations. The next letter is the M for multiplication and then the D for division. So that's what we're going to look at next. We look at the multiplication and the division, but we're going to look at those from left to right. Now, since multiplication and division are inverse operations, that means that division is the opposite of multiplication, they are equally important. So we work them at the same time, working from left to right as we get to them. So let's look at what that means. In this problem, I have 3 plus 6 times 4. Now, if I were to simply work this from left to right, I would have 3 plus 6, which is 9, and 9 times 4 is 36. But if I follow my order of operations, I need to first look at and see if there is any multiplication and division, and there is a multiplication. I have 6 times 4, which is 24. And then I have 3 plus 24, and that would give me 27. Now, because the order of operations said to look at multiplication and division before the addition, then I know that this one is the correct answer. And once again, that's very different from the previous one. Then finally, the last thing we would look at would be the addition and subtraction, which is what we just did with this 3 up here when we added the 3. And these are equally important, so we work them from left to right, the addition and subtraction, just like we did this multiplication up above. So let's try some problems where we may have a combination of some of these operations. Remember PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiply and divide, and then add and subtract. So my first problem, parentheses, 24 plus 16 divided by 8. I ask myself, are there any parentheses? Yes, there are parentheses, so I want to do this part first. So I would have 24 plus 16. When I add 24 and 16, I'm going to get 40. And then bring down the rest of the problem. 40 divided by 8. Now, are there any exponents? No. Are there any multiplication and division? Yes. So I have 40 divided by 8, and my answer is going to be 5. All right, let's look at the next one. I see 12 minus 6 plus 2 times 4 divided by 2. Are there any parentheses? Yes, there are. So I want to do this part first. And 2 times 4 is 8. Now I just want to bring down the rest of this problem so I can see the next operations. So I'm just copying down the rest of the problem. Now, I've worked the parentheses. Are there any exponents? No. Is there any multiplication or division signs? Yes, right here. So I want to do this part first. All right, in this case, I have 8 divided by 2, and that's going to give me 4. And now I want to bring down what I have left. Okay, now I've worked through parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division. Now I'm going to do adding and subtracting. And with my adding and subtracting, I'm going to work from the left to the right. So I'm going to start here with the 12. 12 minus 6 is 6. And then 6 plus 4 is going to give me 10. And that. So how do I remember this order of operations? Well, there's a cute little saying, a little sentence that says, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And if you look at the first letter, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. The P is going to stand for the parentheses, the E for the exponents, the M and the D, which are equally important, multiply and divide, and then the A and the S, Aunt Sally, are the add and the subtract. Those are also equally important. And down here we see that the multiply and the divide rank equally, and you work left to right. Add and subtract, you rank equally, and you work left to right. So if you can always remember this little sentence, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, then you should have no problem remembering the order of operations.